Good morning, Shine Campus. Welcome to our coffee hangout. It's 6:30. We're going to get started so that you can get the juice and be on your way. That was a little ad for Starbucks. Whenever I drink, boom, it's at the bottom. Anyways, you guys, we are talking today about what's causing, or we know actually, and we're going to describe it, what's causing the emotional pain that you experience. So, um, a lot of times there's challenges and we just can't figure out. In fact, a lot of times it's a jumbled mess. There's probably more than one scenario that's going on, and so we feel an overwhelmed sensation or a loss as far as what to do. All those things start happening, and we're trying to figure out, like, where do I start? What do I need to do? Who do I need to get rid of? What situation do I need to change? Like, we start thinking about all of those things. And some of that might be useful, but there's going to be some real important pieces that we can talk about and a good way for us to be able to change things around. All right. So, the first thing that you need to know is where you focus creates how you feel. And so, whatever it is that you focus on in your life, it's going to create a feeling. You need to know that because that gives us our second concept, which our second concept says, are you staring out the window or are you looking in the mirror? Okay. And so I need to describe those in order for this to be helpful for you. Because if you just go with your understanding of it, then it's not going to be as helpful. Okay. Let me talk about the window first. So, in the window scenario is the idea that I want you to have in your mind to think of everything that goes on outside of you, right? So if you're in a marriage, like what's going on with your partner, what are all the outcomes? That's the window scenario. And let's just say you're going through a rough patch in your scenario where there's um, some kind of breach of trust issue or some other thing that's going on, lack of security in your relationship. In those scenarios, if you are constantly looking for proof or looking for something to give you, and it's both really. Not only would you look for proof that something is going on outside of you, but also you'll look for proof to help create a sense of security or make sure that the relationship is okay, but all those things are outside of you. And so when you do the look at the mirror situation, when you're staring so hard at um, what's going on outside of you, it starts creating a powerless feeling. And there's going to be a reason or a purpose in life for us being able to look outside of us. Like, that's built in us for goodness. It's not built in us because that's something wrong. But a lot of times we overuse that scenario to keep looking at um, what's my boss doing, or what's my work environment, or what's my, whatever team I have, what's my family environment, like, what are they doing? And then I start getting a feeling because of that scenario, right? And that situation, whenever we look at things like that, it doesn't allow us to function. And again, the reason that it doesn't allow us to function is because we grow powerless. You don't um, you you don't control anything that's outside of you. You don't control what's going on in the window. So as long as you stare at the window, you won't be prepared to be in it. You won't be prepared to interact in a different way. Emotional hardship is going to be what's constantly on that front step for you in life. And so if you wonder, what's the struggle? Well, it's this. It's you staring at things outside of you and trying to control those things, right? So this is a big deal. If you could just imagine, um, you know, okay, what am I doing in this moment that's causing me pain? Well, I'm looking around too much. That's what's causing me pain, right? I'm depending on something else outside of me too much. That's what's causing me pain. So what's the flip, right? And here's the flip over. The flip over is being able to look in the mirror, right? Now, what's interesting is without the influence of what other people are doing, like comparison is a window opportunity. You're looking at other people or other things to see if it matches. Without those scenarios, your mirror look is probably a whole lot more pure. The hardest thing is you've been looking out the window so much, so it gets more challenging to just stare at the mirror without being influenced. But we're not just talking about the physical mirror. I think what's most important to me is that we look at all the things that we cannot necessarily see whenever we talk about the mirror. But the mirror gets us to be more reflective of ourselves. And so, an interesting thing about the mirror is the mirror doesn't really show you what's not there. I mean, that's just the truth of it. I mean, you can create different kinds of pictures and stuff like that, and they could be fake mirrors. But in all, the mirror shows you what is there, right? And so that's really a huge concept for us to understand, is that if I can be more reflective of or stare more at the mirror and be more reflective of who I am and what I'm capable on the inside, then everything changes for me. Well, what makes it change? Well, you grow in power because you start understanding that there's nothing really beyond you, right? And you can have a focus on things that you actually have control over. So before, whenever we're looking out the window, that was a focus on things that we do not have control over. But now, if we're willing to stare at the mirror, you can get better at your eating habits, right? You have control over that. Now, you may not control that, right? You might be more wanting to be more entertained or have a quick emotional fix by something else, something else um, quickly, right? You might want that, but you can control it. Like, so if you're willing to stare out at the mirror, you can focus more on, okay, these are the things that I need to organize and get in place so that I can eat better. Sleep, like you can do sleep better. Those are the things that you have control over. Those are things that you could say, look, I'm going to set a schedule that means I'm going to control as much of it as possible. Now, all of us are in different situations, so whatever you can't control, you don't want to stare at that. But whatever you can, you want to try to do that. Exercise, right? Exercise is another thing that there's a whole lot of opportunities, and so many times we're passing on the opportunities to just be better and improve our bodies, um, and get our bodies moving and doing the thing that means energy exertion, and get our whole sense of energy kind of growing and moving in the right way. We have plenty of opportunities to be able to do that. And if we stare out the window like, oh man, the gym's so far, or when I go I'm going to be embarrassed, or whatever that scenario is, then we're always going to stay stuck. But if you say, look, it doesn't matter if I even go to the gym, I could do a push up in the morning time. I can do a home exercise. I could walk around the work building. Like, there's so many different opportunities for me. If we can stare at what's going on for us and what we have control over, everything changes, right? And then spirituality. And I think something about spirituality, I don't need people to believe a certain way, but I think that the more that you can work on the things that you can't see, for instance, resilience is something that you cannot see other than the outcomes of it, right? Um, your connection to God, like that's something that you maybe cannot see, but you can work on it. Your knowledge about like the emotional pain that you're experiencing, where it comes from, and the reason that you do things that the way that you do, like you can work on those things, right? You're growing your joy, growing your peacefulness. You can work on those things. Well, how do you work on those things? A cool way is journaling, just to be able to write down a little bit more about what's going on and organize that, and so that it's more visible to you. Because especially when we're used to staring out the window, we need something that's more visible to us than just the spiritual aspects of our being, right? But if you can write it down, then you start at least being able to put it on paper, and it becomes a little bit more real to you. Prayer and meditation are two other scenarios. They are different, but there are two other scenarios that you can adopt to really grow spiritually and get to a different place. And so the key here is we want to turn our look and that is causing us emotional pain, which is the window look. We want to turn that focus to the mirror look, which the focus on the mirror gives us the ability to um, reduce our emotional pain, or at least understand um, how to move with and through that emotional pain. Okay, so something that I didn't give you, and I just want to be clear about this. We're not going to have a life of not hardship. Like your life is going to include hardship, but how you get through it and what you do about that hardship is really important. um, how you're addressing and creating your family around you and the people around you, and what you're doing to grow and what your focus is. Those are the important pieces, right? So no matter what the hardships are, they're definitely coming. What do I do to get through, right? And this is the what you do to get through. This is the focus. These are the place I want you to put your eyes and your energy, and just put your head down and start working on those things as much as possible. All right, you guys, we'll talk to you soon. Enjoy your Tuesday.